Welcome back. We are looking at info circles. These are a great module for displaying, if you offer different services or different, with the non-profits, the different impacts you're having, or the different services that you provide to a community or something along those lines. Now, I'll just have a look at a couple of these demos. So this is the info box here, just on the left-hand side here. If you wanted to put it on a background like this would just be applying a image to a row and then just kind of making sure your image is offset. So that's how that's achieved. That's not part of the actual infograph or the info circle. So this is the info circle. So you can have different elements, different icons around the circle, and as you kind of hover over it, the content in the middle will be changing. Okay, so you can have it on set as hover. A couple of the other examples are, again, hover. There is one where you have to actually just click it, but it's kind of not as cool, I don't think, because who wants to click something when you can just hover over it? So you can have images in here. I don't think the images work as well. Obviously, maybe if you had the right images, but it's not as poppy. It doesn't really draw the eye as much. To me, it seems a little bit cluttered. Again, this is all the characters of Game of Thrones, if you guys are into that. So, and then again, yeah. So this one's nice and simple. I think the simpler ones with the icons work a lot better. So let's dive into info circles. Jumping over to my demo page. Now, let me show you how this is organized. The videos up until now, in the modules, we have these new additions, which are all listed up here. And they're the videos I've done so far, if you are going in order. Now, if you need to jump back and forth from this page to figure out, what elements you want, and then go looking for them in the builder, these are all under creative modules. Okay, then you have content modules and then lead generation modules. So just for because sometimes it's hard to find them. You come to modules, look for UABB, and you're like, it's not super clear what those modules are. So sometimes it's hard to find. So just remember to, try and look under creative modules. And this one is the info circle. Okay. Now, depending on where you put the info circle, let's change this background. Let's just change the color. So depending on where you put this info circle, let's get rid of it. You can see the size is going to be determined by the box that you put it in. So if you want it really big, you can put it, the column that you put it in, you can just adjust to that. So if I went ahead and just grabbed the info circle and I put it in a new row, it's going to be gigantic. Okay, so the best way to control that is by putting it in a column of 3, and then you can adjust it to size that way. You do need a fair bit of room to have these. It's not an element for if you're trying to just squish it on the page somewhere. It's kind of like a full featured element, like a full page. So anyway, let's jump into customizing. Again, we'll make it smaller just so you guys can see. So if you did want to have a background, that's, you just come up to the top left here, and then you would select your background just the way you would on any other row. So if you did want a photo, photo is not going to go very well, but if you did want a photo or image or something, that's how you would just adjust that. So as you can see, when they've used an image, they've used something with a very kind of plain background on one side, and then you can have an image on the other side. So what we do, we just click on the info box. Again, you have these master controls, which kind of control the overall, some overall looks and elements. So we can go ahead and go to them. You have this autoplay. Let's add some extra. I'm just going to duplicate these. Okay, as you duplicate them, they'll go on random, or not random, but predetermined spots on your info graph. You can change all that if you want onto your info circle. 5 seems to be a good number, just because visually it looks really good. 4 or 5, depending on the size of this. You know, if you wanted, you can make that a little bit bigger, and then it. Make that a little bit bigger. And then what we can do is we can come along to these general settings. So autoplay will be, I don't know if these are set as autoplay, but this content in the middle, as you can see, this content in the middle is just cycling through. So you can have it to set as cycle through every 15 seconds. I think that's a bit too long, especially, it depends, you just got to be able to read that content in the middle. But most people, once you go into the hover mode, you can just hover there and read what you're interested in. The content area, so that's going to be, you can see the text is contained to about 80% of that info box. Now, if we went full width, it's going to really expand it out and kind of overlap on those icons. So custom is good, 80% is good. Action, again, you can either have it so you hover over the icons and it will cycle through to the information regarding that icon, or you can have click. This is just a responsive fallback structure. So if someone's on a really small phone or it just doesn't seem right, Beaver Builder will determine that and then display it in a different way. I would keep that on. It is going to be a little bit tricky to put these on a mobile device. We can have a look at let's have a look at how it would be so far. Go to preview, push P. Whoa. Okay, let's publish this and then maybe just shrink it down. So yeah, as you can see, you don't get the actual hover cycle. You just get, it just breaks it down into info kind of boxes. So that's good to know when you're designing this, just so you know that this won't be displayed on a mobile device this way. All right, so back to editing. So general, auto display, yep. Breakpoint, again, I would just leave that as it is, default. Style, positioning of the first thumbnail. So this is what I mentioned, if you want to offset this to, have that 20 degrees where it's going to rotate around a little bit. So you can change that setting. Animation of active thumbnail. Okay, so you can have this, either flashing, or there's different animations that you can have the thumbnail doing, and then the animation of the thumbnail when the page is loaded. So this is just going to be a little back and forth about what you like and what you like on your page. See how that was flashing there? Again, sometimes when you need to preview these elements, because these elements are designed to either load on when the page, or activate when the page loads, or when you hover over it. So sometimes it's best just to either go into preview mode, or you're going to have to just publish and then have a look at how it behaves. Thumbnail style, you can change them to square. Custom. Okay, so the custom would be just anywhere between square and circle. So 30 radius. Okay, so yeah, you can change them to custom. You can put a border on them if you want, on the thumbnails. And then just make it a nice color so you can see. An easy color to see. You might want to have the width a bit. So totally up to you. I think I like the round ones, the circle, the most. Okay, so info area. You can go ahead, and this is just the padding. So around the space around the sides and the top, you can break that out individual, but I mean, it looks good. It's just going to center it at the moment. You can have a an image or a icon. So if you wanted to put an icon in there, and then you can also change the background color, which I think is cool. You can have a different color for each of these. No, you can't. It would be the same color for all of them. Informational area. So that's going to be adjusting this icon. So you can make the icon a different color. I'm just making it this color just so you guys can see. Separator is going to just be a line underneath info and before your text. Again, you have to save this for it to show up, but you can see that line there. So it just helps separate that. And so yeah, you can style the separator. Connectors is this line going around here. So you can change that to dots, dashes. Double, I think, is just double lines. Maybe too faint for you to see. So you can adjust the thickness of that there. So yeah, you can see. You can adjust the thickness and the color of the line. And then the info circle background is, let's just pick a color. So that's going to be that space between the content in the yellow and obviously the edge to that green. So there are your master controls. Typography, I won't go too much in because you should guys be comfortable with doing that. It's the same as all these other elements that we use. And then advanced, again, if you need to move the entire info circle up or down or left or right, you can do it that way. Visibility, again, if you just wanted to design it just to be on large and medium devices and then put something else for mobile, that's all right, but it does break it down for mobile use. And that's about it. Animation of if you wanted to slide in and slide out. Let me show you. We'll just set that up. So again, you have to publish this and possibly refresh. Okay. Whoa. Anyway, we won't get too much into animations. Or for this, there'll be a section on kind of animating all your different elements when they load on a page. And then what you would do for each individual circle, you would just come in here and go to the info circle items, click on the item. This is where you can change the text, which would be this info circle up above here, the text of the body copy underneath, call to action. If you did want to put a call to action, that can be, so if someone clicks on the icon to icon, it would go off to a different link. You can actually have it in description, and then you can have a text or a button. You have to save this to get a preview. Now we've got too much stuff in here, so I would probably come along and take that separator out. Just go no separator. And if I was doing a button, I'd probably get rid of even the icon just to give ourselves more room for that button. So that's your call to action button. And then the info style, again, this would be, we can select the color, background color, green, save. Okay, so you can go and change them individually or just set them on this master default as well. So you could change all these individually. The top one is just going to be to change that icon. If you do want a photo, that's where you would go ahead and change that. Just replace the icon, so you can just come up here and select which icon you wanted to use. Color of the icon, background color of the icon, and then active icon. So that would mean if we go green, whichever one we're actually looking at the time. So see how that icon is green, and then when it changes to the next item, it's not green. Now, if you wanted it to be green on each one, you'd have to go and change that for each and every one. So what I typically do is would design it how you want it to kind of function, as far as the hover, colors, all that kind of stuff, and then start duplicating, which is this little icon in the middle here. Then you would just duplicate it and then go and change the text and the icon. And then that way you're going to have that consistent design feel. So that's pretty much it for info circles. Hope that was a informative one. I think it's good to use these throughout your site, particularly with, even if you're doing like a special campaign or some a special fundraiser or something along those lines. Just to help make it not so boring and a little bit different. So that is info circles.